Hey everybody, so it's Arizona Coyotes Day here for our season previews. Before we get into the video, I quickly want to say if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the thumbs up and give it a like. That really helps out the channel. So Arizona, a rebuilding team that hasn't been in the playoffs in quite a while now. But showed pretty good signs of improvement last season. Went out this offseason and made a huge trade for Phil Kessel. Also brought in Carl Soderberg. And this is a team now that people have expectations for. They are expected to show another step in the improvement process and the development process. They're still a pretty young team. There's still a lot of question marks, but we are certainly all expecting to see some more improvement from Arizona this year. And to me, they're close to a playoff team. I think, they're a borderline playoff team. I don't know if they'll get in. I don't know if they won't. I think we'll delve more into that later when I do my predictions video for the season and closer to the start of the year. We'll talk more about that. But this is a team that I think can compete for a playoff spot. Don't know necessarily whether or not they get in or not, but they certainly should be there until the end. They certainly should be close. And when we look at their lineup here, they've definitely gotten, they've put a better lineup together. So the top line, Clayton Keller, I think Nick Schmaltz is ready to take that top line center role. He was obviously a big part of the deal with Chicago that sent Perlini and why is the name slipping me? Perlini and Strome to Chicago. Schmaltz was a big part of that deal. He should be the top line guy at this point. And then the new guy, Phil Kessel, coming over from Pittsburgh. 27 goals and 82 points last season with the Penguins. Feels like Phil Kessel's been around forever. He's still only 31 years old, so it's not like he's somebody in their mid to late 30s. He's still only 31. He should be a 30-goal scorer for this team this year. He's going to be a big part of their offense. Their second line, Michael Grabner, Derek Stepan, and Vinny Hinostroza. We'll see if Hinostroza can produce at a second line level. We're going to have to wait and see on that. He had 16 goals last year. I'd like to see him in the 20 to 25 range this year. Then on the third line, we have Lawson Krause, Carl Soderberg, who was brought in from Colorado, and Connor Garland. And then the fourth line is Christian Dvorak, Brad Richardson, and Christian Fischer. So Dvorak and Fischer, both young guys. Brad Richardson, the savvy veteran of the team at 34 years old, been around a long time. Between him and, Stepan, that's, and Grabner now, that's a lot of experience between those three guys up front. Overall, I think their forward group is good. It's not great. There's not, so much, flash and talent and offense here that they're a scary team, so to say. But they're good. Their top line's very good with Schmaltz, Keller, and Kessel. That line's going to score goals. And we've seen with other teams around the league, if you play good enough defense, you don't need a ton of secondary scoring to at least make the playoffs. You can kind of be one-line reliant and still make the playoffs. And I think Grabner and Hinostroza and Stepan will give you enough second-line scoring to be, good enough. And then their bottom six, I don't see a ton of offense coming from this bottom six, but I think they can be very good defensively. I think Lawson Krause maybe could be ready to take the next step forward offensively at 22 years old. He only had 25 points last year, but I'd like to see him get up near the 20-goal mark. I think that would be a good step in his development. And then, guys like Dvorak and Fischer and Garland, we just don't know yet. But I think there's certainly potential there. So, we'll see with the depth scoring if they have enough secondary scoring to really, have that be a good impact on the team. But I think the top two lines will get enough at least to keep them in it, in the playoff picture. Defensively, this is a good defense group, and that's why they were one of the better defensive teams in the league last year. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, obviously, I think is a superstar and a pretty underrated guy as an offensive defenseman. Nick Hjalmarsson, tremendous defensive defenseman. And then, Jacob Chychrun in your second pair with Jason Demers. Chychrun is a really good 21-year-old young defenseman. I think he's going to continue to improve and take steps forward. Demers, if he can stay healthy, is a solid veteran guy for your top four as a fourth or fifth type defenseman. And then your bottom pair, Jordan Osterley and Alex Goligoski. Goligoski, a solid veteran guy at this point. Still can bring a decent amount of offense even at 34 years old. And then Osterley's been around for a while now at 27. And, pretty overall, 1 through 6, this is a very solid defense core. And goaltending, Antti Raanta and Darcy Kemper. Raanta was fantastic last season, except he only played 12 games. And Darcy Kemper was even better. Darcy Kemper actually really brought his game to the next level for them next year. And honestly, I have Raanta ahead of Kemper. I think there's going to be a goaltending battle in Arizona this training camp. I don't know who the starter is. Raanta obviously gets paid like the starter, but Kemper was so good last year. I think Kemper could potentially win that job. I mean, he was outstanding with a .925 save percentage last year and a 2.33 goals against. Kemper could win that job. I think over the course of the season, you'll see, assuming both stay healthy, they'll probably end up splitting starts pretty evenly. Health is going to be a big thing for this team all year long because they don't have a lot of depth. That is something that scares me with this team, is the lack of depth. They have Ilya Lyubushkin as a number 7 defenseman, but after that, if you get beyond that 7th defenseman, they really don't have a lot there. And at the forward group, your extra forwards right now look to be guys like Michael Bunting and Hudson Fasching. Fasching didn't even play an NHL game last year. There's not a whole lot of guys to plug in if you start losing guys out of this lineup. Depth is going to be an issue for this Arizona team. If they run into injury problems, that could derail their entire season. And if they lose a top player, like say Kessel gets hurt, or Keller gets hurt, or Grabner gets hurt, Stepan, Schmaltz, if they start losing guys out of their top 6 in their forward group, they don't have the offensive talent in other players to step up and fill that role adequately. So injuries really could derail Arizona's entire season this year. If they start losing important players, they just don't have the depth to replace them. So that's going to be something to watch, and I think something that could really hurt them this year if they do run into that problem. Obviously, they're not going to go the entire season without any injuries, but if they get a key player out for an extended period of time, 2, 3, 4 months, or if they start losing multiple key players, I think that really, really could hurt the Coyotes this season because they just don't have the depth players to plug in and still perform at a high level. They're just not there. They're extra guys. Lyubushkin's a fine number 7 defenseman, I think can play at the NHL level. But once you get beyond him defensively, you're looking at AHL level defensemen. And at the forward group, you're already, outside of these top 12, you're already looking at borderline NHL guys, kind of more AHL guys with Fasching and Bunting. So, I think depth could be an issue for this team. So we'll see how the injury situation plays out. But with their lineup intact, with this group on the ice, I think this could be a very, very good team. They were one of the best defensive teams in the league last year. I think that will continue again this year. I love their top 7 defensemen. I think their goaltending situation is good, assuming that both can play at a pretty high level like they did last season. And I'm a little worried about maybe secondary scoring, but if you're good enough defensively, that won't matter as much. And they obviously do have some top talent up in that with Kessel, Keller, Grabner, Schmaltz, Stepan. There's some good players in that forward group. So overall, I think this is a borderline playoff team. I think they should be able to compete for a playoff spot. I don't necessarily know if they get in or not, but they're going to be right on the edge of playoffs or no playoffs this year. Again, they shouldn't be awful. We've seen before last season, the few years before that, Arizona was downright awful. They shouldn't be awful. This isn't a team that should be picking in the top 5 of the draft next year. This is a team that should continue to show signs of improvement and have some really good pieces in place. It's just going to be about staying healthy and then, putting it all together offensively and defensively. And we'll have to wait and see if they can do that. But overall, I think this is a team that can compete for a playoff spot, should be in the playoff hunt all season long. And it was just going to come down to, a few little things if they get in or not. But still, it's headed in the right direction in Arizona for sure. There's no question about that. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.